You've done it in the last 10 minutes. You didn't need a reason. You didn't decide to. Your hand just moved, unlocked the screen, and scrolled. That's not a habit. That's not weakness either. It's a machine running inside you that's over 2 million years old, and it was never built for the thing in your pocket. You already know the surface explanation. Notifications, dopamine, addictive design. Everyone repeats it. But that explanation barely scratches what's actually happening in your skull every time your thumb twitches toward that glowing rectangle. To understand it, you have to go back, long before screens, before agriculture even, back to a version of you standing at the edge of a forest, scanning for movement in the leaves. Your ancestors who survived long enough to have children shared one trait above almost all others. They paid attention to sudden, unexplained change. A rustle in the grass, a flicker of color where there shouldn't be one. Ignoring it could mean missing a threat or missing food. Both were fatal mistakes, repeated often enough. Think about how quickly your own head turns toward an unexpected sound before you've even decided to look. That reflex isn't learned, it's inherited, passed down through every ancestor who turned toward the rustle instead of ignoring it and lived long enough to pass the habit forward. So, evolution built you a system for exactly this. Psychologists call it novelty seeking, and it's wired directly into your brain's reward circuitry. Every time something new and unpredictable appears, a small hit of dopamine fires, not because the thing is good necessarily, but because it might be. Might is the operative word. Your brain doesn't wait to confirm value. It rewards you just for noticing. Now hold that thought and add a second piece. A psychologist named B.F. Skinner ran an experiment in the 1950s that still explains more about your phone than most tech articles ever will. He placed pigeons in a box with a lever. Press it, and sometimes a food pellet dropped. Not every time, randomly. Pigeons on a fixed reward schedule, food every single press, pressed the lever calmly, only when hungry. But pigeons on a random schedule, sometimes food, sometimes nothing, pressed constantly, obsessively. They couldn't stop because they never knew which press was the one that paid off. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, and it remains one of the most powerful behavioral patterns ever documented. It's the same mechanism that keeps someone pulling a slot machine lever long after they've stopped enjoying it. Your phone runs on the exact same schedule. Think about the pull to refresh gesture on nearly every app you own. That motion wasn't chosen by accident. It mimics the exact physical action of pulling a slot machine lever, and it delivers the exact same uncertain payoff every single time. Every time you refresh, you might see something boring, an email you don't care about, or you might see something that spikes your attention completely. A message from someone you like, a number that went up, a piece of information that changes how you see your day. You never know which one is coming, so you keep checking. This is not an accident. It's not even really your fault. A behavioral economist named Natasha spent years studying slot machine design in Las Vegas, and what she found unsettled her. Machine designers weren't building games of chance. They were building what she called a machine zone, a state where the user stops making decisions and simply keeps interacting, almost involuntarily, because the interface has been tuned, click by click, to exploit exactly the reward circuitry Skinner mapped 70 years earlier. Your phone's feed was built by people who studied that same research. A former design ethicist at Google named Tristan Harris has spent years warning exactly about this. He argues that the biggest tech companies compete for one resource above all others, your attention, and that every scroll,
Every autoplay, every red notification badge was tested and refined against human psychology until it reliably pulled people back in. You are not choosing to check your phone in a vacuum. You are responding to an environment built by teams of people whose job was to make that response almost automatic. But there's a third layer, and it's the one that connects most directly back to that forest edge. You're not just checking for rewards, you're checking for information about your social world, and that instinct runs even deeper than novelty seeking. For nearly the entire history of your species, survival depended on your standing within a small group. Who trusted you, who might turn on you, whether you'd been talked about while you were away. A social snub 200,000 years ago wasn't a minor embarrassment. It could mean exclusion from the group, and exclusion out on open predator-filled land could mean death. So your brain evolved an early warning system for social threat and social opportunity, constantly scanning for signs of where you stand. Every notification taps directly into that system. A message could mean connection. A lack of replies could mean rejection. A photo without any comments can trigger the same low-grade unease your ancestors felt returning from a hunt to a suspiciously quiet camp. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a tribe of 30 people around a fire and several hundred followers on a screen. It runs the same ancient calculation either way, and it runs it dozens of times a day, whether you consciously decide to check or not. Put these three systems together: novelty seeking that rewards you just for noticing something new, a variable reward schedule that makes stopping nearly impossible, and a social monitoring system that never learned the difference between your ancestral tribe and a notification badge. None of these systems were built by accident to trap you. They were built slowly over millions of years to keep you alive. The problem is timing. The systems evolved for a world with maybe 30 social relationships and rare, meaningful bursts of novelty. You're now running that same hardware in a world engineered to deliver unlimited novelty and unlimited social signals every second on demand. Your ancestor checked the tree line because the forest occasionally held something that mattered. You check your phone because it always might. The forest gave you a rustle every so often. Your phone gives you one every few seconds, engineered by people who understand your reward circuitry better than you do. It's not that you're weaker than your ancestors. It's that your ancestors never had to resist something this precisely tuned to a brain this old. That doesn't mean you're powerless against it. Understanding a system is the first step toward loosening its grip. The pigeons in Skinner's box never knew why they kept pressing the lever. You do. That single difference, knowing the mechanism instead of just feeling its pull, is something your ancestors never had, and something no notification badge can take away from you. So, the next time your hand drifts toward the screen without your permission, know what's actually happening. It's not a flaw in you. It's a 2-million-year-old survival instinct, still scanning for movement in the leaves, still counting on you to notice. You've done it in the last 10 minutes. You'll probably do it again in the next 10. Now, at least, you know exactly why.